flowing. Giroux moves on in, and he scores! He's going to learn today.
What's happening, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Pod Street Bullies. I am Derek.
And I'm John. What's going on, everybody?
Fun week, huh? Real fun
man.
week.
Holy crud.
And I should preface this, obviously. We're here with contest winner Nick Hunsicker. Nick, please introduce yourself to the listeners. Tell us a little bit about yourself here, my man.
Yeah, what's going on? I'm Nick. I'm OMG, it's Nick H on Twitter. Pretty much just the avid Flyers fan, just like everybody else, I guess. Yeah, I've gotten really into hockey the last few years, so I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely, and thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it. If we're going to get down to business here, we got some games to talk about and some pretty bad games at that. We kick off with the loss to Colorado. And it wasn't terrible. It wasn't a terrible game by any means, but it was definitely the start of the slide that, we sort of expected. Giroux with the only goal. Nick, if you can draw any positives from this game, what are you looking at right now that's a good thing?
We kept pace with the quickness of that top line the Avalanche have. We were able to pair them really well. Our forwards played really well defensively. Not so much the defense, though. That's where things went south. They were able to get in behind us, but the forwards played really well, I felt.
Yeah. What about you, John?
Yeah, Colorado's a really good team. We're going to go more into this, but, the Flyers were hit with some pretty big news right before this game. Their heads were not in the right place, and, they stayed in it. There's so much going on with this team. They stayed in it. Colorado's a good team. And like Nick said, the forwards kind of held their own, but that defense, man.
Mm-hmm. It was definitely their downfall. Negative-wise, if we're going to talk about some of the bad things, I guess, Nick, what's your take on that?
The second Rantanen goal, he just came right in. There's no defense in front of the net. And that's happened multiple times now. I don't know what's going on. Haig got beat so bad he didn't have a stick on the ice. It was just an easy cross crease pass. So that ended up happening twice for Rantanen. Mm-hmm. He was able to just get two cross crease passes that no one had a stick on the ice for.
Oh, and that one was a short side beauty. That looked like that was great. Yeah. Great for Colorado, at least. But what about you, John? What's the bad thing you can take away from this game here?
Nick kind of hit on it, but it's this whole defense thing, man. It's like when they stink, boy, do they stink. You watch some of how they play, it's just like they forget to play defense. Their positioning's off. They're not covering guys. They're allowing people in the front of the net. I just don't get it. Like, how are you an NHL defenseman?
Yeah, that's rough. And I'll admit, too, much like 2 weeks ago, against Arizona, they ran into a hot goalie in Darcy Kemper. Pavel Francouz, 32 saves, .970 save percentage. They ran into another hot goalie. If it weren't for Francouz, this would have been a little closer.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that's what happened. They lost, and it's 3-1.
I got one more negative.
One more negative from John.
These 9 o'clock starts, man. They got to stop happening.
Oh, man.
Listen.
I can't stay awake that late.
I think I was in – I don't even know if I considered actually watching the game live. That's how late that is. And I know it's not 10 o'clock, but no. I can't have any of that.
I'm home with I'm home with a surgically repaired knee, so it's like I've got nothing better to do, so I'm going to stay up and watch it.
Yeah. Especially to lose, too, right? That's where I would feel defeated. Staying up, being like, I'm going to stay watch this game.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I hear you, but let's move on to the Minnesota game. Another one-goal game. That goal came from the stick of James Van Riemsdyk, finally. let's go negatives this time. We're going to start with negatives. Nick, what can you take away from this game that just really pissed you off?
Again, this game had a goal down low where two guys, when I watched, were puck watching. They just watched as it went across again. Stahl played really well. It was like he was open all game. And for a guy who's played 1,000 games, or has 1,000 points, I just feel like that's somebody you got to watch. And it felt like he was open all game.
Braun even left the coverage on that one goal. I mean, we all saw it. That was bad. Ugh. John, negatives, go.
18 shots on goal. You're not going to win a game with 18 shots on goal. Now, granted, Minnesota blocked 14 of them, but you got to put pucks on net.
Oh, yeah.
And if they're blocking these shots, then you have to have a better shot selection. Like, after a while, you're going to get to know their tendencies. Like, figure out that the guy's going to drop and do something else with it. For the love of Christ.
Well, we all know how John feels about that one, then.
I'm hot today, man.
Oh, we're going to get to that here in due time. Don't you worry.
It's a tough week, man. It's a tough week.
It is. I mean, you can tell probably just by the tone of all three of us right now. It's just, ugh.
And are there any positives to this game? I mean, we lost 4-1.
I will say that was a quick start. JVR got it started quick, and I felt confident. I was like, man, they're going to come out. They're going to play for Lindy. This is going to be a good game. And then it just went downhill right away.
Yeah, see, Nick, they call that the Derek Bob. They go in fast, finish early, and then it's over. It's off to bed.
Can we patent that? Can we patent that? Because if we can, I will do the paperwork.
They pulled the Derek Bob again.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be my first victim. Anyways, before we go too far down that rabbit hole, my negative, and I wanted to add this real quick, which is kind of obvious. Lawton, Pitlick. Lawton with the hamstring issue, Pitlick with the concussion. Still don't know how long they're going to be out, unless I just haven't seen the report yet.
Oh, you're right.
Devastating blow to an already thin group of forwards there. And then that leads us to the game where we lose another forward. We, the Flyers, I should say, traveled to Winnipeg, needed to call some people up. So Twarynski and Aube-Kubel got the call, which I'm not going to sit here and tell you I called that, but I did. Anyways, they lost the game 7-3. It was ugly. I think the Flyers gave up 4 goals in a matter of, 2 or 3 minutes? It was just embarrassing. And to top it all off, the news came out today. Joel Farabee's been suspended 3 games. 3 NHL games for his hit on Matthew Perreault. Okay, positives, negatives.
Should we just talk about the hit? Do you even want to talk about the game?
I don't care about the game. The game is over. It's done with. The Flyers lost. Whatever. Farabee, Nick, your take on this suspension, because John, I'm getting the main event vibe from John. He's just going to go for it. So let's start off with you, Nick.
So, 5-minute major and a misconduct. I think right there, that's a good start for a guy who is a rookie. He hasn't had a history, and now they want to suspend him 3 games. We saw that Borowiecki hit against TK, which is an iffy call. I think it was high. And then he goes and does, I forget who he hit, but he does it again in the very next game. I don't know how that's not a suspension at all.
Right along the boards. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. And Farabee gets 3 games. That I don't know how. We've seen so many worse hits this year, and that's the one that they give 3 games for. And we're already thin. It just hurts us way more. I don't know if maybe the injuries weren't so bad, if this wouldn't feel so bad, but
it feels
kills
terrible.
us. Yeah, kills us.
To an already thin forward group, it's just pile it on. Like, why the hell not?
Yeah.
But, okay, John. Folks, so I should ask, are the folks at home ready?
So I kind of have 2 parts to this, so I'll kind of give my first part, let you guys kind of interject, and then I kind of want to talk about the Department of Player Safety just as a whole. But anyway, I have a 2.5-year-old, right? And 2.5-year-olds, they make a lot of mistakes. They do stupid things every once in a while. Let's say my 2.5-year-old takes, I don't know, a breakable off the table, chucks it, it breaks. First time, she's never done anything like that before. It's clearly a mistake. She feels sad. Then I take her and I chuck her down the basement stairs, lock the door, and leave her there for 2 days. That's what just happened to Joel Farabee. Holy crap. Are you kidding me? I mean, the guy has never done anything like this before. It was a late hit. I get that. The other player, what was it? Perot was on the floor the ice for quite some time. I get that too. And then you give him a game misconduct. I get it, but it's a little excessive. And then you suspend him 3 games. Like, holy crap! If they didn't give him the game misconduct, they wanted him to learn a lesson. Fine, you suspend him a game. But no, we're going to give him the game misconduct, screw the team, and then do 3 games.
And we're throwing John's daughter down the basement.
And you threw him down the basement stairs. That's essentially what you did. Now he's full of bruises, he's hungry, and he's crying for his mommy and daddy.
And you've got Child Protective Services knocking at your door.
Exactly.
I literally, for about a minute straight, could not compose myself there at the metaphor.
I had to mute myself. I was laughing so hard.
I mean, do you mind if I keep going? Because I can't get over this.
You're on a roll.
The Department of Player Safety, I swear to God, I don't know if they just have nuts and bolts jangling around in their brains, but there's no consistency to these idiots. Like, they look at one play, they're like, nothing. They look at another play, they're like, 7 games. You feeling 7 games? Yeah, I'm feeling 7 games. That's great. And then you look at Farabee, it's like, well, let's do that. Kachuk, nothing. There's no consistency. Like, for any professional organization, whenever you set up any sort of department, you should create a framework, a set of guidelines that you're following. I would love to take a look at their guidelines because it looks like my 2-year-old must have drew them and how idiotic their whole system is.
Right.
They're literally like, it goes back to what we talked about with the Voracek suspension last season. They're literally just picking a number out of a hat. That's how many games you get, and then another number. You're picking out the fine, whatever it may be, and then players out of the other hat. It's insane. It's just ridiculous. And
Bettman comes in with his bingo balls. All right, let's see how many numbers we're gonna get today.
I can't stop thinking about the fact that would this have been a big deal if Perot wasn't sitting there admiring his pass and would have actually turned towards Farabee?
That's the thing. He looked over his shoulder to admire his pass, like you said. He thought that was the best pass he's ever made, and he watched that, not the hit coming in. I feel like Farabee was finishing his check. It may have been a few seconds late, but that's a split decision. He's just over his shoulder. That's on him, kind of.
Farabee had his mind made up there. It's a penalty. You're exactly right.
Right. But you could see Farabee's expression when he's going to the penalty box. Like, he clearly knows he screwed up.
Yeah. It's like a dog. When a dog takes something off the table and they look at you once you take it back, they know they shouldn't have done that.
And then you throw their ass down the stairs and leave them in the basement.
Yeah, and then guess what? The next time that dog does something, they'll probably bite your hand off. So that just it's so frustrating.
It really just bothers me. Because I want to be able to talk about this in kind of like a level-headed way and like compare it to something else, but there's nothing to compare it to because there's no consistency with the punishment they give out.
And here's the thing too: you got to think about the hits that they lay out. If you leave your feet, that's suspension worthy. Did Farabee leave his feet? No. If the head is the principal point of contact, that's suspension worthy. Was his head the principal point of contact?
No. Shoulder to shoulder.
Shoulder to shoulder. Exactly what Nick just said. No leaving the feet. No principal point of contact being the head. Was it late? Sure. Then you know what? 1 out of 3, the game misconduct, I feel like should suffice.
Yeah. Is George Perot still the head of player safety?
I think so.
Maybe, I don't know, Farabee took out his daughter and it didn't go well or something. I don't know.
Could be.
That's what I was thinking. Like, when it was Lidstrom, right, who was in charge for a while of player safety.
Might
I
have
believe.
been, yeah.
I
think
can't
so.
remember. That was when it was really lenient. Like, people were getting away with everything.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wonder what I don't know. It just seems like whoever's in charge just picks a number.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Calls it
it's
good.
it's a necessary establishment, but like, Jesus, get it right. Holy crap.
Right.
So overall, last week the Flyers were 0-3-0. Nick, moving forward, are you going to kind of let this week slide given the circumstances, or is this something where it's like, okay, let's come on, guys, let's get it rolling again?
Yeah, we were playing really well beforehand. I mean, top 5 team in the NHL. But losing all these guys, you have a lot of young guys coming up. I mean, Torinsky and Albe Kubel had like a 9-hour sleep at an airport before they had to go to Winnipeg. And then they were scrambling around when they got there because their flight was delayed an hour. So, I mean, it's a little ridiculous with how bad it is. And our cap room situation, we can't do anything. You have $470K in the bank or something like that. What can you do with that, you know?
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I
yeah.
will say JVR, being how poorly he was playing, or everybody felt he was playing anyway, he has started finishing. 3 points in 2 games now in the last 2. That's not a bad way to kickstart yourself. You get put up higher roll, you start producing. Maybe that's finally what he needed. So hopefully he can get on all cylinders.
I hope so. I really hope so. John, biggest conclusion from these past 3 games?
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think it actually has to do with their play here. It just has to do with what else has happened. It's really hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel for me just because I don't know with a lot of these things. I mean, like, half the forward depth is gone, you know? So, yeah, this team was a top 5 team, but now they're a shell of theirself. So I'm a little concerned because I don't know what this team is going to look like moving forward. And I just wonder if it's just taking on too much at this point.
Yeah. I mean, regardless, they've got a couple games coming up this week where they could easily redeem themselves. Let's hope that Pitlick's and Lawton's injuries aren't too severe and they can get them back shortly. And then, not Lindblom, my apologies. Konechny's been put on long-term injured reserve. Those games are retroactive, so 10 games total that he's been out, and then he'll be able to come back if he sees fit and he's healthy enough. But as far as the games go, that is it. Nick, can you tell everybody again where they can find you on Twitter?
It's at OMG, it's Nick H on Twitter.
Beautiful. And we want to thank you for not only winning the contest, but finally coming on and talking to us about some hockey. This is the second week we're working this out, but it was a blast having you on, brother. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys building a schedule around me for a week.
We do what we got it, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, man. You have a great rest of your night, Nick.
All right.
Yeah,
take care,
you
Nick.
guys as well. See ya.
See you. All right, man. We got some business to get down to here because there's a lot that happened.
Lot of stuff to talk about.
And if we're not going to dilly-dally here, we're going to get down to the biggest piece of news, I should say.
Yeah.
Oscar Lindblom, he's been diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, a form of cancer that attacks the bone tissue or the bone marrow, or tissue surrounding the bone, whatever that may be. About 2,000 cases, I believe. 1,000, I apologize. Fewer than 1,000 U.S. cases per year. Definitely something that it's prevalent with young adults to children, things like that. Often begins in the legs, bones, pelvis, arms, yada, yada, yada. It's serious, obviously.
Yep.
It's a form of cancer. It never should be taken lightly. It's unfortunate, absolutely unfortunate. I guess, and the timetable. We don't know an exact timetable. We just know that he's out for the year.
Right, yeah. I mean, I read something today that it didn't say out for the year. Everything else I had read would set out for the year, but this was like likely out for the year. But he's going to be out for the year. I mean, the treatment that he's going to have to go through for this, hockey's a rigorous sport. To have to come back, even if I mean, God willing, I hope he recovers quickly. But that's just a tall task.
I mean, knowing from experience, our buddy Matt Martin, before he passed, me and him kept in touch about his treatments and the things that he would go through. The man was absolutely wiped after treatments.
Yep.
So there's no way Lindblom's going to be able to begin treatment and play after that because he's just not going to have the energy. Treatments are including chemotherapy, surgery, radiation, things of that matter. This is a long road. This is going to be...
Derek, I don't know if you can hear me, but...
I can hear you.
I lost you.
Oh, no. Oh, no. We're here. We're all here. I can hear you. Well, I can't hear you anymore.
Hey.
But yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear you before. We froze.
We're good.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. But just kind of elaborating on the situation here with Lindblom. It's not enough that we're short on forwards now, obviously, but it's the fact that this man's going to be battling for his life, and we don't want to over dramatize it. But that's the fact of the matter. Cancer is cancer. You never know.
Right.
We obviously wish the best, but I'm sorry, John.
I mean, no, that's fine. I think the thing is, right, I mean, and you've heard people say this, this is much bigger than hockey. Hockey's a sport, but this is a human being. And I mean, we'll talk about what it means for the Flyers, but at the end of the day, that part doesn't really matter. It's about Oscar, getting back to just being himself and beating this disease. It's heartbreaking, just to have to even talk about this. It's so unfortunate.
We get so close to this game and we love this game of hockey. We love the team that we support, and you see a guy who is now going through this, and it's almost like it's part of your family. You get upset. The emotions. Matt Stinger, our buddy at PSN, wrote a piece that really encaptures that feeling where sports so long have been an escape.
Right.
And now it's bleeding into our reality because, a lot of us have been through this where we've had family members, friends, people we know that battle cancer.
Right.
This is happening now, and it's real life, and it's... I mean, like you said, there's a future now. We have to look towards the future because we know what Lindblom's going through. We know what's happening.
Right.
And given the situation of the Flyers right now, without it sounding too insensitive here, the Flyers have some needs they need to address.
Right. And you know what, before we go any further, I do think that this is now a time when you can start talking about the team. It's not about, it's two separate things. Oscar is in a very unfortunate, just heartbreaking situation, and we pray for nothing but the best from him. And it's not we want to talk about replacing him because that's not the case. But we do have to actually look at the roster and kind of go from there,
You're right. And, we like to crack jokes. We like to have fun. You won't catch any of us cracking jokes about this. You won't catch any
Absolutely
of us
not.
Making light of this situation. This is just facts, and this is what we need to focus on right now moving forward because the team wheel keeps turning. They're going to go on without Lindblom at least for this season. So we've got to focus on that. And, there's a time to grieve. There's a time to kind of come to terms with it. And right now we've gotten to that point where Flyers have lost 3 in a row now, and we need to really look at this and figure out what we're going to do. So what we did kind of is took the bottom 2 teams from each division, according to, I believe it was Thursday, so I might be a little late on that, but these are bottom feeders from each division. And we kind of looked at one person, and we actually agreed on them, one person from each team that we would like to kind of kick the tires on and look at as maybe a potential trade candidate that the Flyers could go out and get. So we're going to start with the Western Conference. We'll start with some people who we don't see very often, just twice a year. But the one team, Anaheim Ducks, they've not been playing well, and they're coming to town on Tuesday. The one guy that you've got written down, well, I should say we both have written down, but I'm going to let you tell everybody here, John.
Oh, okay. So, Andrej Kasha.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Andrej, yeah.
Andrej Kasha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's a winger. RFA. 3 goals, 9 assists. He's kind of like that, the bottom 6 type. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I like the move just because what it could do is you bring in a bottom 6 guy that bumps up one of your bottom 6 guys, and technically Farabee was your third line guy. I think he deserves a more expanded role, and if not, you look at a guy like JVR who has been kind of coming on as of late, if you want to call it that, with some garbage time points here. But that shores the bottom up, and then the top 6 kind of gets reinforced a bit by bumping a guy up.
Right, but are we taking into consideration that there's a bunch of other Lawton is out and Pitlick's out and Raffles out? I mean, I almost feel like this guy is not gonna make much of a difference on a team that at this point I feel like we need someone who can make a difference.
You're right.
You
got to think too, though, the guys that are going to make a difference are kind of out of the price range of the Flyers right now, unless there's some serious chips being moved.
And before we go any further, and I hate to kind of to go off script, but I'm just we keep talking about, and you and me both agree this team needs to make a move. But what the hell move are they going to make? What are they going to give that a team's going to want? They've got $42 in cap room. They're gonna want to give up their future assets. I don't know. It's a
I might have more money in my bank account right now than they have in cap room, and that's not saying much.
No, and you're probably gonna have to give them an NHL player to make room, and does that then make this team better? Yeah. I mean, I know we're gonna go through this list, and it's gonna be fun, but that's the big thing I'm struggling with is what's the realistic possibility they can swing a move at this point?
Yeah, it's going to be tough no matter how you present these moves, no matter who the player is that you're going after. The Flyers flat out just don't have money, and that's a problem, because if they're going to want somebody that's going to make an impact, that guy's going to cost money. And short of giving up, you can't even give up picks because you're still taking on cap room. So you need to find a team that's willing to take maybe one of your dead contracts and, figure something out with it. But Andrej Kase is the guy for me for Anaheim. I think it's just you get a bottom 6 guy when you get Konechny back, and then you end up with a guy like JVR who might be coming on as of late, and Farabee. I think that guy kind of helps shore up that bottom 6 and then gives the Phantoms kind of a breath of fresh air getting their guys back as well.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe his younger brother David Kase sticks with the Flyers, and you got the brothers Kase line in Philly. That'd be kind of nice.
Yeah.
Is
there a third one anywhere?
If there is, we could complete the trio.
Well, we might as well.
Yeah. Moving on, we're going to stick with the Western Conference here. We've got the Kings, who aren't sitting too pretty right now, and the guy that I have is another guy similar to Kase. You've got Alex Iafallo.
Okay.
Center/left wing. I can never tell. Hockey Reference has him as this position and that position. If he's capable of playing center, great, awesome. If not, we'll stick him on the wing.
Right.
$2.45 million per year. Signed through next season. He's got 14 points in 33 games this year. Another guy, like I said, very similar to Kase. Could fill a bottom 6 role and do a pretty serviceable job.
Yeah, I mean, and LA is going to be looking. I mean, they're in a rebuild. That's obvious. So they're going to be looking for picks. Maybe you do the old Hagen the third or something like that. Clear enough cap space to bring in somebody. And I think he falls in the same kind of boat as Kase. It would help provide depth. Not necessarily going to make me all excited.
No, yeah. I mean, this isn't a move that's going to have me running through the streets of York clamoring for a Stanley Cup, but it's a move that helps solidify a need. Really, again, nothing much to talk about with that. But we've got.
What I'm surprised you didn't say Ilya Kovalchuk.
You know what? Now that they put him on waivers, and the fact that he's making good money in the KHL, he'll sign a cheap contract. I mean, because let's be honest, teams know that they're not going to be like, take $5 million. That's stupid.
Would you want him though?
Man.
To me, that's a name sign. You're not.
It's a Baltimore Orioles sign. They used to sign guys like Vlad Guerrero, Sammy Sosa back way past their prime, and I was always because I was a kid, I'm like, yeah, awesome. Yeah. But then they suck, and I'm like, Wow, what a letdown. So no, I mean, is it a move that I could see Fletcher making? Maybe, but would I be thrilled about it? No. Like, it's not something again that I'm going to be like, oh my god, great.
Right. I mean, if they sign him for cheap, like, and it's not a big deal, whatever. But no, it's not something I'm pushing for.
Yeah. Now Central Division.
Yep.
There's one team here that has a player I'm interested in, and the other one I literally could not find anybody that fit the bill.
Okay.
I should say because obviously we agreed on this.
Yeah, but you're the one who did most of the research, so go ahead. You bring them up.
All right.
I'll give you my 5 cents.
With Nashville, definitely underperforming this year. I think a guy like Cale Yarncroc.
Yarncroc?
Cale Yarncroc. Callie?
Callie Yarn? I think it's Callie.
Callie
I'm going back to Callie.
There's your John.
That's the song that killed Biggie.
Anyways, Yarncroc. He's a center making $2 million this season and for 2 more on top of that. Right now he's got 22 points in 30 games, just as many goals as he has assists. You can do the math. It's not somebody I'd expect Nashville to actively shop at the deadline, but it's somebody that I think could be pried from them at the deadline if the offer helps them as well.
Right. Hey, can I hit the pause button on you for a second? Can we wait till the deadline? Because at this point, we might be selling somebody at the deadline. I mean, if we can't perform with the roster we have.
I mean, the sooner they get in Poyle's ear, the better, you know?
Right.
I think I would love to pry a guy like Yarncroc from Nashville. I think,
for sure.
You know, he's not an old guy. He's not a young guy. He's kind of like right there in the middle, and he knows what he's doing. He's a center. So that would kind of help ease the pain of missing a guy like Nolan Patrick, even Lawton for that matter.
Right.
Raffles out, obviously. He's been playing center on the 4th line for some of the year. Bringing in a center, because we can't rely on constantly being like, okay, Giroux, we're going to move you back from the wing to center now, or, you know, even Morgan Frost for that matter. Like, they want to almost protect him from those heavy minutes at center. Yeah. Bring in somebody that can offset that, and Yarncroc's that guy for me.
I mean, I think he'd be a great pickup. You know, again, it just comes back to the realistic side of things, and I just don't know if we have what it takes to bring him in.
Yeah, $2 million. That's who's comparable? Are you going to send Lawton? Are you going to send Raffle? You know you don't want to part with those guys.
Right. Yeah.
Haig only clears up $1 million. Like, send Haig and Morin both. That's $2 million right there, just about. Can
you trade Morin at this point? Are you allowed to trade people like that?
Try to like sneak him in the fine print, you know?
Right. Size 2 font.
Yeah, just, you know, real little right there. Anyways, the team that we couldn't find anybody is Chicago.
Right.
You look at the guys that you want that are cheap and affordable and make an impact. They're too essential. There's no way. Alex DeBrincat, Dylan Strome. Chicago's not trading those guys.
Right. We don't even need to talk about that. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, and then the guys that are making the money that are actually doing well, we can't afford. So Chicago's out of the question. Jumping on over to the Eastern Conference, we're going to start with the Atlantic Division. We've got Detroit. Your guy from Detroit, who you got?
Tyler Bertuzzi. I think that this also falls into a dream, but I actually really like this guy. I think that he would be such a good fit for the Flyers. Brings a lot of attitude. He can score. But, again, you know, Detroit's going through a rebuild. I feel like they might want to hold on to this kid.
It's true, but I definitely think the Flyers have what it takes to pull a deal like this off. If they're going through the rebuild, they want the prospects. The Flyers have prospects.
1.4 mil too. I mean, that's not bad. Like,
you're right. That's tempting.
Still, what are you gonna? But that's still more than Haig, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. But you know, Haig's making slightly over $1 million. Maybe send another guy with an entry level maybe not an entry level contract, but like an AHL contract.
Right.
Something. Yeah. You know, there's ways to offset it. Plus, you got to think they're not paying that entire contract. It's kind of retroactive, so like they're only paying a percentage as to what they've played throughout the season.
True.
The guy's got 25 points in 35 games. He's a younger guy too, which is great.
I'd love him.
And he'd be an RFA at the end of the year, so they have his rights.
Right. I mean, I would love this deal. I would think I'd go as far as giving like a second round pick for him.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to give him a first because
No, not for Bertuzzi.
no. But this is probably the one that would get me the most excited.
Yeah, and now just as high as you were on him, I'm this high on Anthony Duclair from Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
I
like him too.
The guy can score goals. He had a 2-goal game against the Flyers just a week or so ago. He's only making a slightly over 1.5 million, 1.65, and he's an RFA after this year, so they'd retain his rights if they decided to do so. 22 points, 32 games, 15 of those points being goals. He's the goal scorer. He's the guy that we need to score goals, and the Flyers need that because they've got 5 goals in 3 games.
Yeah.
They're not even averaging 2 goals a game. They need the scorers. They need people who are going to put the puck in the net. I said they should have gave up their first to Winnipeg to bring Line over so that he could suit up. Probably wouldn't have happened regardless, but still. I'm the same train as you with Bertuzzi. I am with Duclair.
Right. I do think that if Ottawa does decide to deal him, I think that they're going to get more than you'd expect.
Oh, yeah. Young kid, RFA, that adds value to anybody right there, being an RFA and being pretty good.
And he's one of those, like, low-risk, high-reward players because he was a first-round pick, if I'm right. So he has a lot of potential. He just hasn't really maximized that potential yet, but he shows spurts of it. Yeah, I'd love to have him too.
Yeah. Now we're going to jump over to the Metro. These guys are going to be a little tougher to pry from teams we're talking about here. And the 2 teams that are sitting at the bottom that were at least sitting at the bottom when we researched them, Columbus and New Jersey, which New Jersey got worse.
Yeah, New Jersey's not going to trade with us.
No, they won't. But if they did, I'd say a guy like Blake Coleman, another guy like Andre Kasha and Alex Iafallo, probably not going to happen. So let's just skip that. Columbus, I would see.
This is a pipe dream, by the way.
This is a pipe dream, but this would be a really pretty pipe dream.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, dude. When you mentioned this guy, I was like, I just want to talk about him because you're ridiculous.
But who else are you going to try to go after on Columbus's roster?
Okay, well, all right. Just go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
21 years old, RFA at the end of the season.
I don't think you said his name.
I didn't. I'm foreshadowing here.
Oh.
Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah.
Would I love to see him in a Flyers sweater? Yes.
Great.
Is it going to happen?
Sure.
No.
No.
All right, I get that. You don't have to keep jamming this down my throat. I get it.
You don't need to do stupid things either.
This isn't stupid. We're literally taking one player from each of the bottom teams, and this is my player. So if you'd like to do the research next time.
Sorry, I wasn't sitting on the couch for the past 3 weeks.
I don't know what you want me to say to that, but we ran through the players. All we know is that there needs to be something done here.
Right.
Flyers are obviously short on forwards. Not only are they depleted, now Lehigh Valley is depleted. And Reading is becoming depleted. It's just the terrible trickle-down effect.
Right. That Chris Stewart signing's really
oh, yeah. What a
really
mess.
helping us now. Yikes.
Oh, you losers.
What the difference a week makes. Right? Oh, man.
We're so happy to have him now, aren't we?
Right. I know, but I mean in general, like what a difference a week makes. Like remember how high we were? I mean not like literally high, but
maybe not you.
Remember how high we were on this team? And now it's like crap, like all the doom and gloom just pooped all over our heads.
It's literally like the clouds just opened up and they're like, Flyers fans can't have anything nice.
Right.
Splat. And there's all the rain.
Doom poop.
It sucks. But that's those players. Now, another thing going on with the NHL. We're talking about 4-point plans here, folks, because the whole Me Too movement in hockey is happening right now.
Oh, don't sound insensitive. I don't want people to get angry with us.
I don't want to sound insensitive, but I also want to make sure that people are aware, like, this is real and this is going to keep happening. People are going to come out with accusations, stories, whatever you want to call it, of coaches doing them wrong somehow, some way.
I mean, some people are doing some pretty dumb stuff.
You're right. You are absolutely right. And I'm not trying to nullify what has already come out about guys like Babcock, and I guess Mark Crawford as well in Chicago. I think he came out with a really nice statement today, heartfelt. But this 4-point plan, Bettman talked about. Pierre LeBrun from The Athletic touched on it. He wrote an article.
LeBrun, nice job.
Yep. I try to sound fancier than I am. But anyways, what this is, there's 4 steps essentially to how they're going to handle events like what happened with Babcock, events like what happened with Crawford, so on and so forth, what happened with Laviolette, if you want to count that, which...
Peters.
Yeah, Peters as well, absolutely. But the first step here, you hammer a team with severe discipline if they become aware of incidents of abuse but don't inform the NHL. That discipline they're speaking of could be substantial financial fines, loss of draft picks, suspensions, terminations. Good first step, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, Bettman wants to know.
Yeah.
Which is
so.
Well, it's interesting because the NHL's older policy used to be like the teams just kind of handle it.
Mm-hmm.
But now, he wants to know if the league's going to be given a poop sandwich, then like he's aware.
Any black eye to the league is a black eye to Bettman, so he wants to get on top of it and make sure that he's not suffering the same publicity shaming or whatever you want to call it that the league would cases like that.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously makes sense. He should know.
Yeah, and these, I should add, LeBrun mentioned that these are very well thought out and well spoken words from Bettman in that meeting. The second point, we'll get to that here. The second point, the league will create a mandatory annual program for coaches and GMs and all front office personnel on counseling, consciousness raising, education, and training on diversity and inclusion. So basically,
I'm sorry, but this is a joke. So, like, I'm a teacher and we do these things all the time, and I like to consider myself a pretty good human being and wouldn't do half the things that I have to sit and watch a video for. But like, to say that it's changed my stance on stuff, I just don't know how effective this is. And I hope it's a workshop and not like one of those they get a DVD and they got to spend 75 minutes watching the DVD and then they got to take a quiz. But I just think that this is one of those things where it's more like we're just putting it there to say that we're doing something. Like, I don't really know what this is going to accomplish.
That's the appearance. It's basically the NHL taking a proactive approach and making sure that they're at the forefront of this. So that way, when something does happen, inevitably, something else will come out. The NHL can say, hey, we have a detailed plan in place to deal with these accusations, these situations, so on and so forth. It's them basically making sure that their name isn't going to get dragged through the mud as well.
Right. I mean, and hopefully they'll be able to get the people to take it seriously.
Yeah, I hope that's my biggest hope for this, is that we'll be able to take this all seriously. Which gets us to our third point here. We've got how to discipline these acts that may fall under a gray area, where you've got verbal harassment, which again happened with Babcock.
Right.
And similar types of misconduct, whatever it may be. I mean, how are you going to do guidelines for that? Like, how are you going to set specific guidelines for those gray areas?
I know, but they've got to give a better answer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, this is just like the Department of Player Safety. Like, it depends. Yeah. I feel like they could provide some sort of, like, repeat offender. We do this. If this is the first claim of this, we do that. Like, there's got to be something they can put to make it a little bit more definite or set in stone than, like, the gray area. Like, no, that doesn't really tell me you're prepared to handle this.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely prepared to give a statement on it.
Right. But
that's time enough to figure out a type of punishment. I mean, I don't know, obviously. I feel like that's the correct amount of time.
Right. And just say, like, these are the list of things that will not be tolerated in the NHL. If someone reports this and we do an investigation and you're found, for lack of a better word, guilty, you're gone and you're not coming back. Like, I think that's easy enough to say. We will not tolerate racism. We will not tolerate physical abuse. We will not tolerate sexual abuse, homophobic behavior, like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
that's easy enough to go, if you are found guilty of this, you are gone. You
Absolutely.
know, I mean, then you can say the Babcock things like the hazing or whatever. Like we find out once, you get a warning. We find out again, you know, it's this. You find out a third time, you're gone for a year or 2 years or whatever. Like, they should be able to give you some sort of umbrella. And then at the bottom of the statement, just say all circumstances will be treated, you know, as their own or whatever. But like, they could give you something besides they fall into a gray area.
From the moment that all this stuff came out with Peters and Babcock, from whatever happened first and when they first heard about it, your public relations department as part of the NHL should have been on top of this, saying,
right,
we need to figure out every little detail with this. I mean, whether they knew about it, they were going to make a 4-point plan or not. Hey,
right,
discipline for this, discipline for that. We need to figure out how we're going to handle this and how we're going to handle that. That needs to be something that should have been at the forefront of every discussion that your public relations department has.
right, yeah,
And it's just not as well thought out as it should be.
right.
And then that we get to our fourth point here that LeBrun discusses, and which I think is a great one. I think that the creation of a 24/7 hotline where people can call in anonymously if they choose and report these incidents or unacceptable conduct, it almost goes without saying. I feel like that's something that should be readily accessible to any NHL player. And like, whether it's Gary Bettman's personal cell phone or a hotline where you've got 10 people sitting there taking calls, like, I feel like that should have been in place already.
You know, I like the idea, but I don't necessarily like the idea of a anonymous hotline, because I don't know how anonymous it could possibly be.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to make a claim about Babcock. Now, Babcock has coached a lot of people, but at the same time, like, there's a definite group of people that he's coached. Like, you know, I just curious, like, how anonymous it could actually be. I would almost rather have like player reps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like maybe a part of the union, or maybe the team has somebody like on staff where that's their job. They're pretty much the go-to person for players. Now, maybe they can go to them for if they're battling with mental health, substance abuse, you know, something going on at home. But part of what they do is they handle these things, and they have a set protocol where then they call Bettman and they let them know about the claim that's being made. So yeah, there has to be something like that. But I just wonder if like the anonymous hotline, I don't know.
It's weird.
It's weird.
Good. It's a step in the right direction, but it's one of those things where it's like something like that should have been in place, where if there's something wrong, there should be a protocol saying this is the next step you take, this is who you talk to, this is who you report it to. Right. But
it's to 1998, the hotline.
Yeah. It's great they're taking the steps in the right direction here, at least in my opinion. It could have been much better thought out, I should say, as well.
Right. I mean, and it's tough to kind of assess it too much without seeing it in play, because only time will tell if this is enough. And it's probably not going to be, because it never is. But
imagine if that number gets out to the public too. Whew.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Seriously. Or it's given to Dino Corso. Anyway.
Oh boy. Anyways.
I'm sorry. No. I'm hot today. I can't help it.
I see the passion. I see it.
I know.
So, if we're going to talk about around the NHL, we're jumping gears here a little bit.
We've not really. To continue our journey around the NHL.
Continuing our journey around the NHL, we're going to talk about what just transpired earlier tonight. It is Monday night. Taylor Hall has finally been traded, and no, he did not get traded to the Colorado Avalanche like much of us thought he would, which I'm devastated I wasn't right about that. He's a Arizona Coyote right now.
How?
Yippee, right? Arizona gave up a 2020 first-round pick, conditional third-round pick in 2021, Nick Merkley and Nate Schnarr, 2 forward prospects, and then a defensive prospect, Kevin Ball. Yep. Pretty decent haul for a guy that was traded for Adam Larson.
Yeah, for real. I mean, it's still kind of an underwhelming amount.
For
I
a
don't
rental,
know.
though.
I know. I mean, but still, it doesn't seem like the kind of deal that most people would shy away from. Like, that seems all right with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we knew this move was coming. We knew Hall was going to get shipped somewhere, and consensus was apparently he was getting shipped to Colorado, which would have been insane with the way the Colorado Avs are playing. But I think he's going to really be that fire for Kessel too. Like, you know how lazy Kessel's been reported to be. Imagine him and Hall on a line. He's going to maximize that potential there for sure.
I mean, Arizona they're not a joke this year. I mean,
no, sir.
And they don't want to mess around. I like the move because it's not really like a Coyotes move. They're usually taking like Pavel Datsuk's contract, and I think they took Chris Pronger's contract
and Grossman, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yeah, they have like just a great NHL 19 roster, but they don't actually play.
Yeah. Now, if you're going to take a guess here, are they going to be able to extend Hall during the season, or is Hall going to free agency?
I mean, I don't really know Arizona's financial situation.
Yeah.
That much. I mean, I'm assuming that they wouldn't trade him this early on, without like at least trying to get an extension. But they've got some pretty talented players that he might be intrigued to hang around with. Ekman Larson is one. They got a bunch of great young guys. So if he's all right with playing hockey in the desert, I don't see why he wouldn't at least consider it. But I don't know. I think he's going to become a free agent anyway.
Yeah, I think he will too. I don't think he's been a free agent yet. So the attempt or the allure of being one, I think it's going to be too much for him.
And he's going to get way overpaid too, because he's like the hot commodity. He's going to be way overpaid.
Some team's going to grossly overpay for him and be very upset when his stats start to decline, because he's getting termed too.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Another guy around the NHL here we're going to touch on, Zach Bogosian, the Buffalo Sabres defenseman, has officially requested a trade out of Buffalo, which I totally understand, bud. I really do. But, man, the stones on that guy. To request a trade from a team that you've essentially contributed like nothing to, because you're always hurt, you're not putting up points. Bud, good for you if you get what you want, but damn.
I wish Buffalo would have came out and been like, dude, we've been trying to trade you for months now, and it's just not working out.
Oh, what a kick to the nuts. That would be amazing.
Right? I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like Dale Weiss requested a trade.
I mean, holy crap. Like, I got chewed apart for that article that I wrote. The Goss despair for Bogosian, but like the entire article was based off the fact that it's a terrible idea, and everybody's like, no one would trade Goss despair for Bogosian. And the one guy literally had to comment back, and I'm like, read the article, pal. Like, no one
but
read
they
it.
can't do that. They don't know how to read.
I'm assuming so, but man, I got eaten alive for that. Some guys like, they hire writers like that. I'm like, yeah, they do, and I'm that guy. But
yeah, they do.
Whatever. But anyway, it's a terrible idea. Bogosian, if he gets traded somewhere, it's going to be for a bag of pucks.
Right. Yeah. I mean, good for him. Buffalo must really just be an awful place.
But according to ESPN, or what is it, that Twitter account I tweeted something about, they've got the number 5 fan base in the NHL.
Buffalo fans are nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Like
the
Buffalo.
Bills.
I mean, the Sabres fans are crazy too. I mean, I actually don't disagree with that guy. I'm sure they do have some great fans, but still, like,
they're jumping through tables and stuff at tailgates. Like, they've got to be extremely faithful.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's really what's going on around the NHL. Nothing too crazy yet. I'm sure there's going to be more to talk about here. But, folks, wrapping up here with the Pod Street Bullies, we want to talk about some advertising opportunities for you and yours. If you or somebody you know has a company that you would like to advertise and get your name out there, we would love to do that for you. contact us. We have our email in our bio on Twitter. If not, feel free to contact us via, podstreetbullies@gmail.com, I believe.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's just normal spelling. Or DM us on Twitter, whatever's easiest for you, really. Get a hold of us. We'll figure something out. We'll talk about it, and we'll go from there. And we're going to take another break. We're going to basically end up doing this every other week with the contest. So no contest this week, but next week you can look forward to a question coming out the day after the podcast is. And we'll get another guest on the show. Thank you again, Nick, for coming on here, pal. We appreciated that. John, let everybody know where they can find you, my friend.
Yeah, you can find me at PodStreetGov on Twitter. You can find my work at PhillySportsNetwork.com. You can find me here. You can find me in Long Island. You can find me in New York City during the work week. You can find me at Stu Leonard's grocery store sometimes on the weekends. You can find me in bed typically a little bit around 9 o'clock. I'm trying to think of other places you can. Should I just shut up now?
You just shut the hell up.
So yeah, all those places.
Awesome. You can find me on my couch because my knee. Are you done, or do you want to actually plug yourself?
No, here? I did. I plugged myself. I said it first. I said PodStreetGov and crap.
This is a true married couple right here. I just tune you out after like 3 seconds.
I feel like I say the same thing every week, and like if you don't know, then
now you know.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
We're going to talk about Biggie. Anyways, I'm Derek. You can find me at Pod Street Bob. You can find my work on Philadelphia Sports Network. You can find all of our entertaining and funny tweets at Pod Street Bullies, Pod ST Bullies on Twitter. And folks, the time has come to say goodbye. This has been the Pod Street Bullies, and I'll leave you with, as always, let's go Flyers.
Bye now.